How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
My fellow Americans, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. Text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. You can get the show notes, the live stream, the podcast, all that good stuff. So this is perfect timing here. Got an email from James. Why is it that every election cycle they say the election's a dead heat? It's so annoying and can't possibly be true. I feel like they could nominate Jeffrey Dahmer, who's gone, on the ticket, and the polls would still be too close to call. Okay. Actually, James, yeah, the country's really divided. It's about 51% Democrat, 49% Republican. Really, it's about 50% Democrat, 47% Republican, and 3% completely independent. It's a very tied country. And the parties in this country right now are no longer giving you reasons to vote for that party. They're giving you reasons to vote against the other party. And the data historically has shown when that happens, neither party really grows. The Democrats, by offering a reason to vote for them, risk alienating some of their current base. It's why Kamala Harris, in her convention speech, did not do a deep dive into policy because she didn't want to alienate any of the Democrats in the room. She wants to maximize her base. And by running a campaign on platitudes, she's hoping not to alienate anyone and possibly persuade some independents to come towards her. Yes, this is a deeply divided country. If you don't believe the country is deeply divided, you are living in an enclave of one party or the other and surrounding yourself with people of one party or the other more likely than not. There are places like Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York that are through and through Democrat. You're not going to find a Republican. They're there. They're just in camouflage. But then you go to suburban areas, you go to Fort Worth, Texas, you go to Warner Robins, Georgia. I mean, you go to parts of Ohio or Florida, you're not going to find a Democrat. But they're there, they're in camouflage. However, you go to an Atlanta, you go to a Phoenix, you go to a Miami these days, you're going to find some pretty divided places. Go to a suburbs of Pittsburgh. You're going to find 50-50 divides. And those are the swing states. And those swing states will decide the election. Nationally, this race is tied at about 48 to 49% each. In the swing states, it's divided about 48, 49% each. That's why this presidential debate is going to matter in the same way that the one with Joe Biden mattered. This one's going to matter because there are a lot of people who do not like Donald Trump. There are a lot of people who do, but there are a lot of people who don't. Of those who don't, they're having to decide one of three things. Do I still vote for him even though I don't like him? Do I just sit home and say pox on both your houses, or do I hold my nose and vote for Kamala Harris? And then there's a pool of independent voter out there. And the pool of independent voter is trying to make up their mind. They know about Trump. They have opinions on Trump, but they're trying to figure out, what does Kamala Harris actually believe, and what's my impression of her? And someone's impression of someone else can be entirely subjective and nebulous and hard to figure out. but it comes from watching that person on stage against the other person. Tonight matters much for Kamala Harris because of that. It matters for Donald Trump with women as well, as an aside. Donald Trump does not poll well with women. There's a huge gender gap with women. There's one with men as well, but the gender gap with women is wider. Trump just needs to neutralize some of that. He needs to not be a badgering bully on stage, and he'll mitigate some of that. That's all he's got to do. Focus on policy. Don't make it personal. I mean, look, I lost a woman listener because I said I would not call a Canadian goose a Canada goose, and she's like, I'm out. Women can be fickle, and you're going to lose them. There's no reason for you to structure your campaign, but what you can do is at least mitigate it by not just being a jerk on stage. But here's the problem for both sides. I will tell you before I get to that. So I was watching the Jets versus the 49ers last night. It is wild to me that Brock Purdy, as an aside to the aside, Brock Purdy is the quarterback for the 49ers. He was the very last person picked in the draft a couple of years ago. He has a contract with the 49ers. He's made about $895,000 a year as a very good quarterback, one of the best in the NFL. He's new. He makes less than $1 million. The SEC quarterbacks do the name, image, likeness rules. Most of the quarterbacks in the Southeastern College Conference are making more money than Brock Purdy, who, by the way, apparently a very upstanding guy. So I'm watching the Jets-49ers game. The 49ers, sorry, David, crush the Jets. My CFO turned 40 last night. All he wanted was for the Jets to win, and Aaron Rodgers disappointed him again. Had to do a well check on him earlier. During the commercial break, there were 3 Trump ads for every one Harris ad. First time I've seen that. Almost every other break, there were the Trump commercials. They were the same commercials. It was an anti-Harris, 2 anti-Harris ads followed by 1 positive Trump ad. And then there was a Harris ad. And I couldn't just decide, was YouTube TV lazy? They're just repeating commercials. Did they buy that time? I don't know. But there were way more Trump commercials than Harris commercials for the first time here in Georgia last night as I was watching the football game. That was a little bit encouraging. The Harris campaign right now has more money than the Trump campaign. And the Harris campaign is doing something the Trump campaign can't do. Controlling their own ground game. Now, I don't need to go ad nauseum into the ground game. Here's what I can just tell you. The Trump campaign has outsourced the ground game to a variety of outside groups, one of which is Turning Point USA Action, led by Charlie Kirk, and the insiders of the Trump campaign are not optimistic about that. Essentially, one of the quotes today from one of the people inside the Trump campaign is that if our voters turn out, our voters are turning out not because of them. We can't even get good metrics from them. Doors knock, things like that. People I know on the inside say it's not going well. But then Elon Musk's PAC, America PAC, has stood up, and I know people who have been whose doors have been knocked on from it. I know somebody yesterday had a Republican outreach group knock on their door, and then the Harris team has started knocking on doors in Georgia. The Harris team is majorly staffed up in Georgia. They're focusing on Wisconsin and a couple of congressional districts in Nevada and Arizona. The Kirk team, I think, is focused mostly on western states. They're not focused in Georgia. Elon Musk's PAC is focused there. But these are outside groups, so the Trump campaign to some degree is flying blind. And the problem here is that because of that, it's also the Republicans' Senate committee and the House committees are flying a little blind as well because they tend to rely on the presidential campaigns. And there are growing expectations among House Republicans they may lose the House of Representatives. Even as Senate Republicans are growing confident they may win the Senate. And a lot of it has to do with the ground game effort that the Trump campaign is not actually running. The Harris campaign has the data, and the Harris campaign is running its own operation. And in a tied race, that ground game matters. But in a tied race, everything matters. The other day, at a rally, Donald Trump started talking about rounding up Barack Obama and the Democrats and prosecuting them. Some of Trump's big social media supporters are all about arresting the people who denied the election, arresting Brian Kemp, arresting Brad Raffensperger, Republicans in Georgia, arresting Hillary Clinton, arresting Barack Obama. They want to arrest everybody. In a close election, that sort of stuff matters. It's not per se the campaign, but if people tie it to the campaign, it's going to turn people off. In the same way, Kamala Harris is refusing to walk back her position on paying for the sex change operations of illegal aliens. That's going to matter too. And I just think this race, unless something shakes up on the debate stage tonight, and I hope something actually does, for better or worse, I just I want the race to try to start revealing itself. And right now, it's just a very tied race. And that tying extends into the swing states. But here, I want to read you something. Hang on a second. The spur of the moment, pulling this up. Here it is. Yes. I want you to hear that. This is from John Ellis and his news items email. About half of registered voters, 49%, say if the election were held today, they'd vote for Harris, while an identical share of 49% say they'd back Trump. With less than 2 months before the November election, the candidates bring contrasting strengths and weaknesses to the presidential contest. Trump's key advantage is on the economy, which voters regard as the most important issue this year. A 55% majority of voters say they are very or somewhat confident in Trump to make good decisions about economic policy, compared with 45% who say that about Harris. Harris's lead over Trump on abortion is a near mirror image of Trump's on the economy. 55% of voters would at least some confidence in Harris, while 44% express confidence in Trump. And Harris holds sizable leads over Trump on personality traits and characteristics, including being a good role model, a 19% advantage, down to earth, a 13% advantage, and honest, an 8% advantage. If the election is on the issues, Donald Trump is going to win the election in a tied race. If the election is on personality, Kamala Harris is going to win. That's why Kamala Harris doesn't want to talk about the issues. She wants to talk about joy. And that is why Donald Trump must talk about the economy. He must talk about the economy, and he might as well talk about immigration as well. Kamala Harris let multiple people out of prison who went on to kill others, and many of them were illegal immigrants who she let out of prison, who then went on to commit major crimes, murder and otherwise. The ad campaigns last night attacking Kamala Harris were all about that issue. When she was district attorney, letting illegal aliens out of jail who went on to kill other people. That's a huge issue. But so is the economy. So if Trump can spend a night on the debate stage talking about the economy and talk about Afghanistan and talk about immigration and the border, Trump is going to have a good night, and that might persuade voters in a 50-50 nation to unlock their grip on a tie and move in his direction. If Kamala Harris comes across as the likable person who people may not understand where she stands on all the issues, but Trump comes across as a jerk and she comes across as likable, never underestimate people's ability to put their emotional sense of things ahead of their reasonable sense of things. At the end of the day, people want to vote for someone they like. And if Harris comes across as likable, that's going to help her. So now, if Trump stays focused on the economy and immigration and Harris comes across as likable, what happens to the race? Well, it stays tied. One key takeaway from all of this, though, is that Kamala Harris did not have a post-convention bounce. And that should have Democrats concerned because they were so happy about what they saw on that stage. And they got no polling return from it. And that doesn't actually spell like that's success in the air for Kamala Harris. That should be an early warning sign something's not right for the Democrats.
Blinds.com Cyber Monday Last Chance is happening now. Don't miss out on up to 45% off site-wide. A Blinds.com design expert can help you make the perfect selection on your schedule. We can handle everything from measure to your whole home installed for one low cost. With over 25 million windows covered, Blinds.com is the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings. Save up to 45% site-wide, plus a free professional measure right now at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry. Everybody's talking about it. Billions of dollars invested, so buckle up. The problem is AI needs a lot of speed and processing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud. Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, Databricks, Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/Erickson, ERICKSON. That's oracle.com/Erickson. Oracle.com/Erickson. Go check them out today. Hello there. Welcome. Well, we've got a hurricane coming in. I'm going to head up, looks like the Mississippi River Valley. It's a tropical storm right now, Francine. Going to become a hurricane. It looks like it's going to be blowing through the Acadiana region of Louisiana, my Lafayette affiliate down there. You're going to get it. Although I will tell you that there's a new computer simulation model out from IBM that actually appears to be even more accurate than the European model. The Europeans have this computer model they've used that's been pretty accurate track. This IBM model seems to be more accurate, and it's suggesting the hurricane's going to wobble and move further to the east and come in through New Orleans and spare Lafayette and Lake Charles, Louisiana, and then head up towards Baton Rouge and into Mississippi and over. We don't know yet, though. That's just one model. What we do know is that it is expected to make impact in Louisiana, somewhere between Lafayette and New Orleans. It'll impact my parents and a lot of listeners I have there in Louisiana. Stick around and impact sometime probably Wednesday evening. Start feeling the effects on Wednesday morning tomorrow. And then those of us on the East Coast might be feeling the effects of it on Thursday and Friday with rain. We will keep an eye on this for all of us, as I'm sure your local stations will. Those of you on the phone, stand by. I'll get your phone calls when we come on the other side of this. What I want you to know right now, though, before I move on to other topics, is the United States economy right now continues to be the number one issue in polling. And a lot of reporters often ask why Americans have such a bad feeling about the American economy when it's outperforming everyone else. You know, one of the biggest issues, according to new surveys, home ownership is a big issue. Because of government policy, because of people not wanting building, environmental policies against building, it's driving up the cost of homeownership. So here's a just mind-blowing thing. Listen to this. Since 2000, the average household income has doubled, but the average price for a listing for real estate has tripled. Over the same time it takes to save, over that period, the time it takes to save for a 20% down payment has risen by nearly half to 11 years. And the share of income that goes to mortgage and insurance payments has risen by more than a third to 35% into an unaffordable zone. Because developers are building houses much more slowly than Americans are forming new households, the shortage is growing by several 100,000 residences a year. There are more people to buy homes than there are homes, and that's a problem. And this ties into the banking problems we're having and the interest rate problems and everything else. Swiss America has been the trusted leader in precious metals for 40 years. They've been warning people about a secret war on cash. So here's the thing. The government now is tracking people and they're purchasing even with cash. You think that you can pay for cash and you're a little anonymous. Not as much as you might think. And Swiss America has been sounding the alarm on this and so much more. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. You can get their report, Secret War on Cash, and it only takes about 15 minutes to read it. By the way, digital currency, it's tracked too. Swiss America has all the information. You can get a copy of the report for free by calling or texting 800-289-2646. All you do is mention my name, Eric. When you call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646, the report's completely free from Swiss America. Let them educate you on the secret war on cash. 800-289-2646. You can also go to SwissAmerica.com/Eric. That's SwissAmerica.com/ERICK. or 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. For those of you interested, it looks like the PGA guys and the LIV guys are meeting over the next few days in New York. Tiger Woods is there, along with the head of the PGA, to meet with the Saudi investment group that put together LIV Golf. Is LIV relevant? I mean, I don't know that it really is. It's taken some great golfers out of the spotlight. John Rahm and others deeply frustrated by it. I watch the PGA Tour. I don't really keep up with LIV Golf. I don't like the whole teams thing. I like the meritocracy of the PGA. But nonetheless, I digress. Got people on hold who want to take their calls. 877-973-7425. Lewis, let's start with you. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello.
Hi, Lewis.
Oh, hi. How you doing? I was calling about the Afghanistan withdrawal. Maybe somebody has mentioned this before, but I happened to notice it. She emphasized that she was the last person in the room when that decision was made. She was interviewed just recently, and she also was asked the question, how are you on that decision? How do you feel about it? And she thought about it for a second and said, well, no, I'm okay with it, like that. But the thing to emphasize, though, for Trump to respond is not only were you the last person in that room, you were the last chance our soldiers had as well. And I don't know, if I was vice president, I would agonize over that decision. Was there somebody else I should have asked? Was there someone there that I should have talked to? I mean, in that way he can show some empathy in what he's saying. I know certainly I would if I was VP and part of that decision.
Yeah, look, I think you got to bring up the Afghan withdrawal. In fact, because she's doubled down and defended it. And then, of course, they've tried to pivot to him being with the Gold Star families at Arlington National Cemetery, turning it into a scandal where the real scandal was they would not have been dead but for Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's decision to withdraw from Afghanistan the way they did. Even the Democrats tried to pivot and say, well, he had to do it because of Trump. No, he didn't. No, we didn't. The Democrats have been in charge since 2009, minus 4 years of Trump, and they act like everything in the world is Trump's fault. And I think he should probably point stuff out like that. I think, yeah, Lewis, you're absolutely right. Michael, you're up next. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Prayers for you and your wife.
Thank you very much.
I would like to make my opinion on what Trump should make in his opening statement when most people are going to be watching is to immediately link Biden and Harris together. It's the Biden-Harris administration that has caused all the chaos that we're experiencing. And then to immediately go into, this is what the Biden-Harris administration has done for you. They've raised interest rates 12 times. They've made mortgages higher, credit card payments higher. When I was president, gas was $2. Now it's $3.15 in the South, $4 or $5 in the West. What was $100 in my grocery basket is now $200 or $300 to make the same amount of groceries. People are struggling. So this is what they've done for you. She's the most radical senator as she was voted left of Bernie Sanders. She has no solutions, and what solutions that she does have are taxing you to death. You don't need more taxes. You need me in the presidency. And then go straight into this policy. Please, someone tell him not to take the bait if she tries to attack him personally. That's my opinion. That's what I
Michael,
think he should do.
I got to tell you, from what I've been told by people who know him and who have helped him prep for this, he does a very free-form debate prep. He gets ambushed by Matt Gaetz and others with the things they think the other side's going to do, which includes the insults. And everyone has emphasized to him, and he himself has allegedly said that he knows he needs to avoid the personal attacks. And by the way, I think they're right on that. I think he does make it about the policies, make it about the economy, make it about their failures in office compared to when he was in office. Because here's the thing he's got going for him. It is the trump card for Trump is a majority of Americans, a majority, not a plurality, but a majority. A 55% of voters majority prefers Donald Trump's policies when he was in office to what they have now. And all you got to do is point out how much better things were just 4 years ago. By the way, given the way the coin toss worked for this, Donald Trump is going to have the last word in his closing. He'll be able to get the last word. And here's my hope. I hope he memorizes a script. He's not good at that. He doesn't like to do that. But I go back to those convention speeches. Had Donald Trump ended his convention speech about 30 minutes in, people wanted to hear about the shooting and all that, I think he would have gotten a bump in the polling. But he went on and on and on, and people went to bed. Harris had a pretty short speech, not a whole lot of depth, and she didn't get a bounce out of it. I think Trump would have gotten a bounce. It's wild to me. The man had been shot the week before, and people to this day still deny what they saw with their own eyes. Got grazed by a bullet. I saw somebody who's big into disinformation and misinformation and calling out disinformation and misinformation, a progressive, point out that Evander Holyfield is missing the piece of his ear that Mike Tyson bit off, and Trump isn't missing any of his ear because he was grazed by the bullet. He was still grazed by the bullet. I had a piece of my finger taken off by a mandolin. You know a mandolin where you put potatoes on it and you slice back and forth? Well, I wasn't using I was using the handle, and I slipped and I got part of it off. And if you look real close, you can see the scar. Otherwise, if you're just looking at my thumb on camera, so you can't tell that I'm got a chunk of my thumb gone. But the way the scar broke, same thing happens with your ear. No one can deny that. I mean, the Secret Service testified under oath in Congress that the bullet impacted Donald Trump's ear. But the left wants to, and it's wild to me, absolutely wild to me, that people just moved on from that. I think Donald Trump needs to get on that debate stage tonight. And he really needs to emphasize the economy, and he needs to emphasize illegal immigration. He needs to not get personal. He needs to not get nasty. Let Kamala Harris try to get under his skin and just ignore her. The Harris campaign is very open that they are doing everything they can to try to get under his skin. He needs to not let them do that. Dwayne, you're going to be up next. Welcome to the show, Dwayne. How are you?
I'm doing okay, Eric. How are you doing?
Great. What's going on?
Yes, I just want to say I think Donald Trump need to kind of like tone it down a bit. He on social media telling how he's going to arrest the Democrats and all that when he get in office. Hold on, let me turn this off. I just think he need to tone it down a bit. And he's out there joking during these rallies. People don't want to hear that. They want to hear how he's going to make their lives better if he become president. You know, I'm afraid if he keeps on this path, he may end up losing the election, because there are times when I feel he's not taking this very seriously. And it frustrates me. It really does.
Yeah, look, I hear, Dwayne, your frustration from more people than ever before, that people just feel like he's not taking it as seriously as he should, that even before the shooting that he seemed to be a little off, and now after the shooting he seems to be much more angry and much more unfocused. I got to just, as an aside here, and this really wasn't what I want to talk about this segment, but that's okay. As an aside here, spending time on stage talking about rounding up your opponents, prosecuting them, throwing them in jail, suggesting Barack Obama should be prosecuted and the like. All that does is it gives the media an easy story to attack you with, and they never have to talk about the economy. And not that they want to talk about the economy, but it makes it even easier for them. It's the economy, stupid. James Carville said it. Couldn't say it any better than that. It's the economy. And every minute he's on a stage talking about rounding people up to prosecute him, he's not talking about the economy. Every moment he's hurling insults about whether she's black enough, he's not talking about the economy. And there is a deep-seated frustration among people who support Donald Trump that he's not talking about the issues that are going to matter to people. The border is one he talks about more than the economy, and that's a good one to talk about. But people are worried about the economy, and a majority of Americans, Joel, it is not a plurality. So what's a plurality? You got 35% say one thing and 30% say another. The rest are undecided. Well, the plurality is 35%. That's we're not talking about plurality here. We're talking over 50%. A clear majority of Americans who are going to vote believe Donald Trump will provide a better economy than Kamala Harris. They like her better. They think she's more honest. They think she's more competent and capable and more personable, all of that stuff. But they want a good economy, and they think Donald Trump can deliver it. If Donald Trump stands on that debate stage tonight and comes across as deeply dislikable and doesn't focus on the economy, it is political malpractice. I'm hoping that he'll focus on the economy and he won't let her get under his skin. That's my hope. But I feel like I am doomed to be disappointed in this election season, as everybody else kind of feels like these days as well. It is a wild election, but hey, on the bright side, there are less than 60 days to go. In the meantime, I can tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm because you can get 3 of them for less than $200 and save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. What you do is you go to EdenPureDeals.com and you put in the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3, and you'll get 3 of them. You'll save $200. Not only do they get rid of the dust, not only do they get rid of the pollen, they eliminate odors. They generate ozone, which latches onto the odor ions. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with the science, odor is caused by ions, ionized gases that float in the air that attach into your senses, into your nerve sensors in your nose, and they say, "Oh, this smells like smoke. This smells like dirty diaper." Well, the ozone latches onto the ions and wipes them out. It neutralizes them so they can't generate the odor. So you smell clean air. You do not smell the odor. It wipes out dirty diaper odors. It wipes out smoke odors. It wipes out pet odors. It wipes out cooking odors. It wipes out just, you name it, it'll wipe out the odor. They work. You can even plug it in with a USB cord in your car. If you got a USB outlet in your car, it'll work there. I've charged it with my laptop in a car. You go to EdenPureDeals.com. You put in ERIC3, ERICK3. ERIC3 at EdenPureDeals.com. You will save $200. You'll get 3 of them. You'll wipe out bad odors. Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here. Yes, you can be on the program. If you would like, I would love to have you. The phone number again, 877-973-7425. Okay, I got to read an email to you because I want to answer his question. This is from Joseph. Joseph says, I'm part of the 3% of independents you mentioned earlier, and I have friends on both sides, a variety of age ranges and backgrounds. I find that most of my younger friends aren't likely to participate in polls. I don't even participate, primarily because I'm not certain how to. So my question is, who are the people that make up the polls? Furthermore, if young people aren't really politically engaged or participating in polling, but will still go and vote, thanks, Obama, how can the polls possibly be accurate? Thanks. Great question. So I realize that everybody now questions polls, and I tend to question individual polls, not necessarily the polling average anymore. I think the polling average kind of captures the errors of the polls and weeds out. But so here's how it works typically. It depends on the pollster. The best pollsters actually use a registered voter list. But what they do is they do a random number generator based on zip codes. They want to find people all over different states, urban, suburban, rural, and so they call you. And they ask you the basic identifying questions. You male, you female, where do you live? Do you have a college degree or not? And here's the thing. There are 330 million Americans. There are about 125, 150 million registered voters. The odds of you getting called for a poll are actually pretty small. You're probably not going to get called for a poll. They randomly generate the numbers. Now, some of them use voter lists that do have assigned phone numbers, and they use that information. And in so using that information, they're more likely to call someone who's registered to vote. But then they do demographic sampling, and they ask you, are you registered to vote? When's the last time you voted? Do you intend to vote in this election? And that pares down whether you're a registered voter, a likely voter. And then they want to know if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, all that sort of stuff. So, but they're only polling at a time. They're using statistical sampling of between 1,000 and 2,000 people nationwide. Now, polling used to be more accurate because everybody had landlines, and now people have cell phones, and a lot of people don't answer calls. And the part of the problem that polls have that they're struggling to weed out is that aggressive partisans, particularly Democrats, are more likely to answer the phone. Trump voters tend not to be as eager to answer the phone. They don't like to answer unknown numbers. And that's part of the thing is it's got to be an unknown number, and you answer the phone. But they're only dealing with about 1,000 people. You want to know, are they right? I'll put it to you this way. Is the polling correct or not? You can say the individual polls are wrong, but here's the thing. In 2022, the media polling actually showed the red wave was gone away. It was the partisan Republican polls from Trafalgar, Rasmussen, and others that were skewing the polling average to make it look like there was still a big wave coming. The New York Times Siena College poll got the election right. The percentage of Republican to Democratic turnout nationwide, they nailed it. In 2020, the polling average got it almost dead on with what Joe Biden actually got nationwide. 2018, 2016, the same thing. The polling averages tend to work out right. The individual pollsters can be off. The takeaway is the trend line. If all the polls are showing a trend towards Kamala Harris, you can say she got a bump out of the convention. The fact that none of the polls are showing a real trend to Kamala Harris can tell you there was no election bump. Even the polls that tend to be favorable to Kamala Harris don't really show a big shift in her direction after the election. So you can conclude, in fact, that Kamala Harris didn't really get a bump. And I think that sort of stuff matters. I think it matters greatly in the poll trends. And honestly, you were all kind of flying blind. The polling's the best we can do. And the Republicans and Democrats pour massive amounts of money into the polling to try to get more accurate polls. But what they're looking for is not who's up and who's down. That's a big difference. What the campaigns are looking for is what issues are persuading people to vote for me. The horse race poll for today, they don't really care about that number so much as what issue is going to persuade people to vote for me. And that's why you see the messaging shaping up between the candidates with Harris on joy and Trump on the economy and immigration.